Chelsea fans, football fans, it's finally over. The Premier League season has finished. Most importantly for us Chelsea fans, the worst season in our history is done. It's finished. This is by far Chelsea's worst ever season. And I know some people will make arguments to say, oh, we've been relegated before and it's been a lot worse. But this time, expectations are much higher for Chelsea. We've got a new owner who spent £500 million and we finished 12th on like 44 points. This is by far Chelsea's worst ever season. We were 4 points better off than the magic 40 points mark. I think we've dropped like 30 points from the season prior. This is without doubt Chelsea's worst ever season, but it's finished. Look, a weird game at Stamford Bridge. The end of the season that has been the worst in Chelsea's history. It's nice to see the end of that season. It's weird to say goodbye to some of the players. A few moments from the game, but there wasn't really anything to write home about, was probably Lewis Hall's performance. Really, really decent performance from him. He's arguably getting better and better. There's still a few things I see from him, like sometimes he's ball watching and things like that, but I'm sure with more games and experience and playing and working with better managers that he will improve. And I like what I see with Lewis Hall, and he seems pretty robust for now, and it's nice just to have a player that isn't picking up injuries when they're having good performances at Chelsea. So that's a positive for me. I think Lewis Hall, since he's come in this season, has just stepped it up and up and up. And I've been impressed. I'll be honest, I haven't always been impressed with Lewis Hall, but the way he's ended the season, I think fair play. And he obviously won the Academy Player of the Season as well. So, yeah, keep going, Lewis Hall. I'm sure you're going to have a big career at Chelsea, to be honest with you. The left-back spot keeps opening up with Chile getting all these injuries and Cucurella being absolutely awful. So just keep cracking away, mate, and you're probably going to be Chelsea's number one left-back at some point next season, if not in the very near future. I'm done with Frank Lampard not giving opportunities. Chelsea are done with Frank Lampard not giving opportunities to players when he said that he would. And previously for Chelsea, he's done that. And this time, maybe by like Lewis Hall, I don't really think he's given players chances, fair chances. He's given players who don't deserve to be at the club more game time than they ever needed under him. So that disappointed me with Frank this spell. Nevertheless, it was sad to see Frank go. It was nice to say goodbye because I feel like as Chelsea fans, we never really got the chance to say bye to Frank Lampard. When he's left as a player, it was surprising. When he left as a manager first time round, we weren't here. We got to say a weird sort of hello goodbye when he come back as a Derby manager, and that time he scored against us for City, but it wasn't quite the same. We actually got to say bye, and Frank got to wave bye to the fans, and it kind of summed up all of his time at Chelsea, whether it's been good, bad, or really non-eventful like the season we've just had. It was just nice to say goodbye to our greatest ever player. So thank you, Frank Lampard, for trying, for seeing if you could take us out of the mess that we were in. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, but we'll never forget what you did as a player. So I just wanted to mention that in this video. What I will say, though, about the game is there were a few positives when players came onto the pitch. There were some nice moments. It was nice to see Ruben get a standing ovation. It's obviously going to be his last game for Chelsea, I think. It was nice to see the banner for Aspi, "We'll just call you legend." That was fantastic. There's a lovely shot of Aspi applauding the banner as well, which is a phenomenal moment in his career as a Chelsea legend, it would be fair to say. It's only right. Azpilicueta has won everything from us. He went from being an average squad player at a young age under Benitez to, quite honestly, the first name on the team sheet under Mourinho and Conte for a few seasons. An incredible career and one of the best defenders Chelsea have ever had. So thank you, Aspi. It looks as if it might be your last game as well. So what I will say is it was probably Conor Gallagher's best ever performance. Maybe not best ever, but one of his best performances in a Chelsea shirt. Conor worked well, he pressed well, he barely gave the ball away, which I often see him do, to be honest with you. There was a couple of rash moments, but that's never going to leave Conor's game, and arguably that's the thing that I think some Chelsea fans like with Conor. It's something I like as well. It's nice to see someone just giving something for the badge, to be honest with you. It's nice to see someone fighting for the cause, and Conor does that. I'll be honest, I don't really want to see him go. I just can't see how Chelsea can afford to let all these homegrown players leave, because although we need the money and they obviously create clear profit, we still need to hit the criteria. I guess they'll just start registering academy players, but I'm pretty sure that is not the right way for Chelsea to go right now. We just need to keep some players around who are just showing a bit of fight, and arguably he's the sort of player that Pochettino may like. He's someone that you can bring on, give energy to a game, use in games when you've got to rest key players. Connor's a great replacement, in my opinion, and probably not someone I want to see leaving Chelsea right now, especially if Ruben and Mason are to depart, which is a tough one to take for any Chelsea fan, especially one that is fond of Cobham and how nice it is to see players coming through the academy. I feel like this is going to be a time for Chelsea Football Club where the belief in Cobham is going to be at the absolute lowest again. It's going to be a time where academy players are doubting whether it's right to stay at Chelsea's academy, because Todd Boehly is quite clearly showing that he purely sees Chelsea's academy as a business model. And I know it's been that in the past, but in recent years we've seen Cobham have so much success in the first team that I've really thought that we'd be keeping them around and trying to offload these ridiculous players who are on ridiculous wages, putting in ridiculous performances every week. And in fact, we're going to be letting some of the players go who are understanding of the club, know what it means to be Chelsea, and are Chelsea through and through. They've been here since 7, 8, 10, whatever it is. And they're the ones that are going to go because they're the ones that can correct the books. And for me, that just doesn't sit right, really. I like the fact that Chelsea had the best academy in the world, and I like the fact that we brought players through from Cobham. You feel an instant connection to them, and that's why it was so heartbreaking to say goodbye to a player like Ruben. And it was so nice to see the standing applause that he got. All right, look, it's not been perfect for Ruben. There's been times when he's looked like an absolute well-beater. Arguably under Sarri was playing phenomenally well. The future looks so bright, and then he was played in that stupid game at one of the weirdest, most poorly organised fixtures Chelsea have ever had, and he obviously didn't get to play in a final which would have been fitting for him in Baku, where we beat Arsenal. Such a shame, to be honest with you. I think that was obviously a turning point in Ruben's career, but look, a massive player for Chelsea in recent years, I would say, as a player who has not so much done what we always expected him to do on the pitch, but a player that has proven that there was a clear pathway, arguably the pioneer of the Cobham Academy, the first player at Cobham to be paid ridiculous wages, obviously, as a Chelsea player. I remember an article all that time ago that Ruben Loftus-Cheek was on $1 million a year when he was so young, but obviously, Ruben embodied Chelsea, loves Chelsea, lives close to the training ground, and it's just sad that that's the type of player Chelsea believe is the right one to let go this season, when I'm pretty sure in every position Ruben's played for us, he's never really let Chelsea down, and he was willing to give his all for the club, and it's sad to let him go. Obviously, injuries have hindered Ruben's career massively. He's had some absolute shockers, but look, Ruben, I wish you well. Go to Italy, which is a likely destination for me. It's either going to be a club close to Cobham and he doesn't have to leave the area and he can commute, or he's going to go to Italy where some of his mates are, like Tammy, Tamori. I think that would be an interesting one, and I could see Ruben thriving in an AC Milan team that is desperately short of a decently sized box-to-box midfielder that we saw in the Champions League semi-final. It's obvious that would be an incredible signing for AC Milan, and the way they work with young players, I think it would fit Ruben really, really well. Like I said, sad to see him go. I'm sure there are some Chelsea fans that are happy to see him go, which baffles me a bit. But look, Ruben, thank you for everything you did for Chelsea. Thank you for believing in the academy and sticking with it and showing the other players that Cobham was the right place to be and you could make the jump into the first team. And you did that even with numerous loans and stuff like that. You've been a great player for us, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. So thank you. That's the sad one for me. Thiago Silva, one player of the season. He was given the award at the game. I think it's fitting. I don't really think anyone's been standout. Obviously, Thiago Silva had a fairly long injury this season as well. But if anyone's kept their performances pretty consistent this season, it's probably him. I think we're starting to see a slight decline in Thiago Silva's performances. But obviously, with the team performing how it is, I'm just not sure whether or not that'll go back up if we start playing better and confidence rises and there's confidence in the goalie and the other defenders around him. But right now, I'm not certain on Thiago Silva and whether or not he's going to be here next season, but he didn't really look like he was saying goodbye, and he wrote some programme notes or an interview in the programme about how his kids are here and he's set to be here for another few years because they've actually got contracts at Chelsea's academy. So that's actually fantastic news. I hope he does stay. Obviously, one of Chelsea's greatest players in recent times, without a doubt, and probably deserved player of the season. Goal of the season went to Conor Gallagher as well. I forgot to mention that when we were talking about him. But other than that, there's really not much to say. A lot of goodbyes. One thing I will say, though, that really, really, really disappointed me and just kind of sums Chelsea up right now is at the end of the game, all the players kind of come into the middle. They were all given these bags to come and say bye and chuck like footballs and probably sign footballs and signed stuff into the crowd. And to be honest with you, that's something Chelsea do every season, but there was probably 10 players, maybe more, just dropped the bag, left it in the middle of the pitch, strolled around the pitch, didn't even wave, barely smiled, real poor attitude. There were some players definitely saying goodbye. Mendy stood out for me. He looked like he was saying goodbye. Aspi, Ruben, they're the absolute definites for me. There's obviously other players that are going to be leaving Chelsea, but some really couldn't even be bothered to say bye to the fans. I'm sure you can kind of guess who those players were, but they just left the bags in the middle of the pitch. And Aspi noticed it right before he went off and was absolutely livid. He was like corresponding to the liaison officers or something on the pitch, saying like, how has that been allowed to happen? Look at the mess. Like, that isn't how you leave it. And that's something that I'm sure Aspi sets an example in that dressing room. But unfortunately, there's just some players that Lampard has spoken about. The standards have dropped at Chelsea, and that is a prime example. Something so small, but something so unacceptable as well. Aspi and like a few other players were giving those bags away signed to fans in the crowd as well, because something as small as that in such a bad season can make that fans' whole season. Just by even receiving a cardboard bag with nothing on it, maybe just a signature, or even the fact that it was given by a player, and half of them didn't even have the respect to pick it up and take it off with, and they just left it in the middle of the pitch. The other thing that annoyed me in that lap was Mudryk. Mudryk is really starting to annoy me as a Chelsea player, to be honest with you. The disgrace that he decided to put up on Instagram the other day. This geezer's in the gym. He's old, slightly overweight, but working on himself, working on his goals, trying to improve himself. And Mudryk's there mocking him. And it goes viral because of a guy called Joey Swole basically saying, like, what are you doing? You're a Premier League footballer. To be honest with you, Mudryk, you just need to be working on your own goals, mate, because you've barely scored, or I don't even know if you have scored for Chelsea. You've been that poor. And you're honestly the worst type of player Chelsea could have signed. You cost an absolute fortune. I've seen you have some good performances at Shakhtar, but you don't know the ins and outs. You don't know the ins and outs until you sign one of these players. And do you know what? I wish Arsenal had signed you. I wish you'd gone there and it was an absolute joke. But unfortunately, you're a joke at Chelsea. You've done nothing. You're mocking people. And then you have the audacity to walk around the pitch and you've got a guy a guy filming you. You've got him to move side so you can get your good side and show the fans clapping you. You're just honestly a prima donna, mate, with no proof to back it up right now. And I'm really, really disappointed in Mudryk, and I'm really not excited to see him being part of Chelsea Football Club going forward. He costs so much money. He's like Bowley's star signing along with Enzo. And unfortunately, I think that might mean that he's unwilling to let him go. He's on such a stupidly long contract. There's no way anyone's going to be looking to pay those wages. I do think that's going to be a massive problem this summer, is people aren't going to be willing to pay wages for Chelsea's players, because some of them are on astoundingly stupid wages for what they're worth to a team, to be honest with you. But look, that's it really. There's nothing really to write home about. A pretty non-eventful game, obviously, hence the 1-1. And Newcastle United obviously will go on. And actually, one thing I will add is this sums up Chelsea's season, but the 3,000 away fans that were there were obviously having a party the whole game. But it was quite poor at the end when we're doing our lap of honour and the stadium's half empty, and you see Eddie Howe and all his fans and players just absolutely drowning out any noise from Chelsea. And it was just a sum up to an awful season, and I don't agree with how that was allowed to happen. I genuinely think we should have just let the Newcastle fans out first and leave the Chelsea fans in the stadium and let them applaud the players. But to be honest, there was hardly any fans left, to be honest with you. There wasn't that many that stayed, and that really doesn't surprise me on what's been such an awful season and such a anticlimactic end to a legend being in charge of the team as well. So look, the season's finished. Hopefully it's onwards and upwards. Pochettino's confirmed, and I don't really have much more to say. We're obviously going to look into Pochettino actually finally being confirmed as the manager and some signings that we need to make, and hopefully a brighter summer. And we'll probably make some videos about talking about other teams and how their seasons have been and players of the season, stuff like that. So yeah, honestly, thank you so much for watching the videos right now. It's been a weird season. I've enjoyed making these videos. It kind of caps it off in a weird way. But without Chelsea playing bad, I probably never would have thought about making these videos. So thank you so much for the support recently on the channel. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 250. That's my next goal. And obviously like the video as well, because I never knew how much that really helps. But honestly, likes on a video makes such a difference to the video and the algorithm and stuff like that, and me getting discovered. Check me out on Twitter and all the socials. The links on the channel. And I'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully look forward to a better season next year.